everyone. Welcome back to Unfiltered Perspectives. I'm Tara.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Leslie.
We're talking about something that a lot of people debate, whether kids should work after school, and if they do, should they be expected to contribute to household expenses? There are a lot of factors at play here, from teaching responsibility and financial independence to concerns about academics, stress, and family dynamics. We'll be exploring the benefits, the potential downsides, and how this decision can impact both kids and families in the long run. This is Unfiltered Perspectives, where real talk leads to real growth, and every perspective is valued.
Awesome. Thank you, Tara, for the introduction to today's topic. I guess we can start with me and how I feel about it. I had my first job when I was 14, back, way back, when they had the summer program. I honestly don't even know if that's something that we have anymore, the summer youth program. But I was 14, and I remember, as far as contributing to the household, I remember giving my mom, your grandmother, money, and then at some point she had saved it and had given it all back to me. So, so that was that. But everyone has a different in opinion as far as whether their teenagers should be working or not working, focusing on, just school or, so it varies. And it was only a couple of weeks ago where I was having a conversation and I was somewhat against it for my son, who was 17. This is last year in high school, wanting him to focus on his grades. And also he plays two sports and he opted out of one of them so that he could focus. And I just thought that him having a job would be a little bit of a burden. And also, being young, do you really want to take their weekends away from them because they are still in school? I believe they can only work a certain number of hours or up to a certain hour after school. So then now this is their whole weekend. But interestingly enough, that was my opinion. And having a conversation with my son on yesterday, finding out that he wants to work. And so I brought that to his attention. Are you willing to give up your weekends? And I guess for him, if he's willing to give up his weekends and he can still handle the study load and all of that, then I have to let that be his decision. As far as contributing to the household, I would probably do the same thing. I'd probably let him contribute so that he understands the responsibility. And then at some point, just give it back to him without him knowing that I've been saving it until he reaches a certain age where he should contribute. If he's going to still be home and work, he should contribute.
Why does he want a job?
Why does he want a job?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't even know that I even asked him that question because I was so stuck in my, I don't think you should work.
Mm-hmm.
More, the way he spends our money, I think he just wants that freedom to be able to have the money and do kind of what he wants with it. And I don't think he realizes, because he's going to be a licensed driver next month. And I don't think he realizes how much saving he's going to have to do to get that first car. So I believe that that's his goal, is to get him his first car. I believe that that's his goal. But I literally can't even lie, I did not even ask him why he wanted to work. I can hardly get this boy up on a Saturday morning, so it should be interesting.
That will be interesting.
It will be.
I personally, I think in New Jersey you could get working papers at 14.
14. Mm-hmm.
And so my recollection is that all through high school, again, with these sort of summer job programs,
Mm-hmm.
I worked summer jobs. And then maybe the last 2 years of high school, also an after school job. But my recollection also is that that money went to things like after school clothes and supplies and maybe incidentals during the school year, saving, but not towards the household finances.
Right.
Oh, we did set up I have had a bank account, checking account since high school. And so a lot of the financial literacy on understanding how to run a bank account, by the time I was an adult, I understood that for myself.
I remember I had been working since I was 14, started with summer jobs, working like 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 the both of you through like the summer youth program or something like that. And I also remember for me it must have been like my last year of high school. I worked after school during the school year. I don't recall if I had a checking account. I must have had, gotten my money cash somehow. But
Mhm.
I don't recall having a checking account at that time. But I do remember working, and the reason for it was not, I don't recall it being to contribute to household expenses. It was mostly for, things that I might want to do with money. If I wanted to do anything extracurricular, or if I wanted to, like Kim said, buy school supplies, school clothes, and things of that nature.
Mhm.
With here, I remember when Matthew was in high school, there was some program where he had the opportunity, I think, to try to get a job. But at that time, we really did not want him to do that during the school year
Mhm.
because we wanted him to be focused on his academics
Right.
or
Right.
any other extracurricular activities or volunteer opportunities,
Right.
not going out but I know that there are reasons where it would be, I guess, fair or something for kids to have to work. I mean, I'm not against kids working after school.
Mhm.
I'm not against kids working during the summertime because I think it does teach responsibility. It also, I think, but when it comes to them having to contribute to household expenses,
Mhm.
that's where it becomes a little iffy for me because
Mhm.
I think it's important, like I said, for them to be able to make money because it teaches financial responsibility. But
Right.
it might be fair for them to contribute to household expenses because it teaches them, the value of money. It teaches them about working ethically. It teaches them about contributing to family
Family.
responsibility, the family responsibilities. And also in some situations, it might be necessary for them to contribute to the financial health of their family because
Yeah.
sometimes, a lot of families, they have very limited resources and that money is necessary. It comes in handy.
Mhm.
So in those situations, it could be important just for the family survival.
Right. Yeah, I was about to make that point as well, that if it's necessary, you do what works for your family. If it's necessary, then I'm not against it. I'm not speaking against it because everyone has to do what works for their family and their situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It teaches importance of, just being supportive of your family members when things are rough.
Mhm.
Even if, it doesn't necessarily mean like you're going to be outside if your kid doesn't, put in like half of that paycheck, but it
Right.
teaches them that we
Yeah.
are all working together here to support each other. And so that looks to, I guess, what do you call it? Sharing responsibility.
So I hope this doesn't take us off topic, but I wonder then if we're talking about shared responsibility and contributing to the household, what you think about chores and allowance. Do you think that kids in the household should get allowance? Do you think that kids in the household should do chores? Do you think that they should get an allowance that's tied to chores? I will say that I think if we could afford it, I would not expect my child to contribute to the financial resources of the home. I think that's a parent's responsibility in a family that can afford it. But I also would expect my child or any youth in the household to contribute in other ways through chores. And that's the way that they're contributing to the running of the family. But I also don't know that I would give an allowance for that because it's not something that you do for money. It's something that you do because this is what we do as a family that depends on each other.
And
Exactly.
Everybody contributes.
I think it goes back to how you structure it for your family. I don't care how much money I have or how old you are, you're doing chores. Whether there's a monetary, payoff or not, chores need to be done by everyone in the home. If I decide to give you an allowance, it may or may not be directly correct connected to the chore that you do. I don't know. I guess for everybody it's different. You have to figure out what works for your family. Jordan is going to do chores. He has chores, but then Jordan doesn't get a weekly allowance. He gets what he gets as it's available. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But I'm also teaching him, or we're also teaching him that you don't need to spend, because that child will spend it as soon as it hits his hand. So we try to have him keep something in savings, for an emergency, like we should all be doing. So we're trying to teach him to be responsible with his money. I wouldn't necessarily call it an allowance. We're able to give you when it's available, but your chores are going to get done regardless.
I agree. We did not give allowances, but much like how I said before, how we considered school to be the priority, what we did do is we gave, I guess, incentive or reward for working hard in school, good grades,
Mm,
and things like that. So, if you made the honor roll and you had this, then you get that.
mm.
And even then, when he got that, Kim, do you remember when we gave him that money, he still had to budget it. He still had to budget
I
that,
do.
save some, spend some, that kind of thing.
I remember he was pretty young, a trip to Toys R Us to get some Legos and doing the math and trying to add in that tax and how much can you really afford
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
money.
Yep. But like you said before, regardless of how, what your financial situation is, whether you can afford allowance, you don't want to afford allowance, you don't want to give allowance or whatever, I think it's important that children from a young age contribute to the household in ways that are not necessarily financial, because it does teach responsibility. It does teach that you are part of a unit, and it is important that you do the things that need to be done so that we function healthily as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it also teaches them that responsibility for themselves as they grow older. Your children know how to do laundry so that when they go off to college or off on their own, there's no confusion there. How do I cook an egg, or how do I do my laundry? When do I do it? I mean, things like that are, you just teaching them basic life skills. And even people who can afford to have those things done for them, if they have household staff or what have you, your child should still know how to do these things for themselves. And the way that happens is through having them do it as they get older and for practice, but also, like I said, just to support the running and the functioning of your household.
Hmm.
And that way it teaches responsibility without any kind of financial pressures.
Yeah, the responsibility of just, doing what you need to do around the house so that everything flows a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize how I started all of the kids, Davon, Crystal, Jordan, something as simple as making your bed every day when you get out of the bed. Because I know grown people that get out of the bed and don't make the bed. For me, oh my. For me, it drives me crazy. I cannot see an unmade bed. It makes me crazy. But I had done it with Jordan so long, I'm noticing now I don't see his bed unmade. But when it hit me just now while we're having this conversation, it's that he makes his bed every single day. His laundry, he's been doing his laundry for, ooh, he's 17. He's been doing his own laundry for years.
Mm-hmm.
That helps me because I can work on something else in the house that makes the house, flow and function the way it's supposed to, because I'm not having to wash, dry, and fold your laundry and put it away. And I'm not having to go in your room and make sure that your room is clean. So you're definitely contributing to the household, even though those are your responsibilities, your bed, your room, your clothes. It does help with the flow and the function of the home.
It does. It does. And I also wanted to point out, though, when we're talking about whether a child works after school or doesn't work after school, I think that if the decision is made that this is something that your child wants to do you're hearing him, he wants to work, that it's important that there's a good balance set between, I guess it's an important thing to set priorities, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that you are allowing that experience, because for whatever, it's teaching them financial responsibility. They can learn how to budget. They can learn how to save. They can learn how, just the fiscal intelligence, that
Right.
kind of thing. But it teaches them, things that will carry on throughout their lives. It's a long term life lesson, I think.
But it's a little crazy to me that I never that I never asked him, why do you want to work? Because I would just assume you want to work because you want to make your own money.
Yeah.
I hope he's not thinking to contribute to the household, because that's not going to be comfortable for me, regardless of my financial situation. It just wouldn't be. But I also look at, again, every child, every home is different. He played basketball, he ran track, he's, in church, in ministry, he's doing a lot of things. And so with all of that, for me, working would be at the bottom of those list of priorities.
Hmm.
However, that's my list, may not be at the
Right.
bottom of his list of priorities. But I
Hmm.
don't want those other areas to suffer: school,
Hmm.
youth ministry, track. Like I said, he opted out of basketball. I wouldn't want all of those other things to suffer because you feel like you need to work. So I do need to understand why he feels that's necessary. And given
Hmm.
that you're young, you're giving up your weekends. You're giving up your weekends. Your weekends are all you have right now during the school year.
Hmm.
So, but we'll see. Well, I'll report back.
I
Yeah.
did though,
And
I know we're running short of time, but I did want to come back to that financial part because one of the benefits of teenagers having jobs is around the financial literacy and the understanding the value of money and how it works and how to manage their own money. So I'm curious if you have thoughts about if they aren't working and aren't receiving sort of a regular allowance in that way, how, like ways that they can do that. I was interested that you said, Leslie, that if he did have a job, you would let him give money, but then you would save it for him, not that you would have him save it for himself.
Well, he would be he would have to save something of his own on his own for the lesson, for the learning, for all of that. But if he was to give me something, I guess he just have two savings because he wouldn't know that I'm saving it for him. You
mm,
know, I just want to teach him the responsibility. I want him to show him what this looks like when you contribute. So I can remember mom, nana, grandma, whatever we're calling her today, my mother, your grandmother, doing that with me when I didn't even know, like I said, that she had put it aside for me. So I would do that for him and just kind of like, hey, surprise, here's this back. But it was just to teach him. But he'd have to be saving something on his own as well.
mhm,
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah. And tithing.
mhm.
And tithing, yes.
So when I realized we were going to be talking about this topic, I did turn to the Bible to see what scripture has to say about, on this particular topic. And obviously it doesn't speak necessarily directly to this, but I did find a few. The first one is Proverbs 22:6, which says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And to me, this underscores the idea that of guiding kids towards responsibility from a young age. And it suggests that the lessons that we teach, be they financial, about work, about life balance, it does have a lasting impact. And another one was Second Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10, which says, for even when we were with you, we would give you this command. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. And this, it stresses the importance of personal responsibility and contributing to, the well-being of the community or the family through work. But I think also that it's a principle of fairness because it basically says that everyone should contribute according to their ability. It's not
Right.
saying that you have to force your child to work and you have to take their money, but, let them, or even that they have to work and contribute money, but they're able to do and give to the family as a unit as they are able. And for me, it was important that these two concepts the balance between like training children and holding them accountable for their actions is really important. And I think that the lesson is twofold because with the first one, with the Proverbs verse, parents play a really big role in teaching kids the important values of things like hard work and taking care of the things that they have and helping other people. And these lessons, I think, set the foundation for growth and independence.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely independence. And it's about teaching them and preparing them for real life so they can handle responsibility and understand the value of contributing, whether it's at home or in the community or later on in their careers. So I think that when we instill these values early, they're better equipped to navigate life when they grow.
Yeah.
And then with the Second Thessalonians verse, and I think we talked about this a little bit, but once kids are old enough, once they're mature enough, I think it is probably a good idea to encourage them to work or contribute in some way,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
some way. And this could mean, like we said, helping out with chores. It could mean getting a part-time job or even pitching in financially if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes sense. And the idea is that everybody in the household has a role to play. And that by contributing, the kids, they start to feel a sense of purpose and responsibility. And like they're actually a meaningful entity in this unit, in this household, that they're contributing and their voice being heard, and they are just adding to the value. Everybody working together adds to that value. So yeah, so basically I think the key takeaway, and actually what the key takeaway is that parents should teach children that contributing in any way is part of being responsible and part of being a capable adult. And that it should be introduced, I think, at the right time and in a way that supports their growth and their development without stressing them, without overwhelming them, without it being an undue burden. Because, and I'm saying a lot here, sorry, is that I don't know, I think it's important that children aren't made to shoulder too much too soon.
Mm-hmm.
And like Leslie, that's like what you said, how you know, if he were to give money, you hope he doesn't want to have a job so that feels like he has to do this to help your household finances. But because I understand definitely where you're coming from, because you don't want to feel like he's putting on too much. You don't want to feel like he is taking on too
A role
much too
doesn't need.
soon, a role that
Yeah.
he doesn't need to, and it's not his responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to encourage kids to contribute in meaningful ways, and because it's important, and it's important to protect their well-being also, and make sure that their focus is on their education and their development and just, you know, their overall well-being
Yeah,
here.
that was the thing, to just know where the focus is
Mm-hmm.
and prioritize. You know, even in contributing, it may be something as simple as, you know, you're giving it to me, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it on your phone bill.
Right.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's for you, but it's helping the household, because that's one less bill that, say, I have to take on, or half of your phone bill, or
Yes.
something where it's really going towards something that you're benefiting from.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Kim, you have anything you want to add?
No, not more than we said. Sorry.
That's
What was
okay.
that?
She said not more than we've already said. So at the end of the day, whether or not kids should work after school or contribute to household expenses is a deeply personal decision, and it's influenced by family circumstances, values, and what's best for your child. There's no one size fits all answer, and it's important to approach the topic with care. And so, again, thank you for joining us for this episode of Unfiltered Perspectives. Be sure to look for a new episode on Thursday mornings. And don't forget to share, rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode.
Find us on Facebook and YouTube at Unfiltered Perspectives, and Instagram at Unfiltered Perspectives IG. And if you want to send us a note or an email, we're at unfilteredperspectives@outlook.com.
Thank you once again for listening in. We appreciate your support. We look forward to hearing what you want to hear about on our upcoming episodes. We'll see you here next time. Bye-bye.